Well, welcome everyone. I'm Cindy Brooks, the Executive Director of EDC Team Jefferson. I'd like to welcome you to Resource Roundtable. This event's an ongoing event that we have every third Thursday, where we invite one or more guests to introduce themselves and their services to the community of Jefferson County. The Roundtable provides a place where we can come together and learn about resources available to start a business, grow a business, or plan to sell a business. It's a safe place to show up and ask questions, share information, all in the spirit of mutual support. So at the EDC, we seek to build over time a network that can seamlessly provide services addressing a range of business questions from startup to succession, ensuring we have a healthy, resilient, diverse, and engaged small business community serving the people of Jefferson County. So just in terms of etiquette for this call, we'd like people to mute themselves if they're not speaking, so background noise doesn't distract the speaker. And if you have questions, put them in the chat. If we end up having a small enough group, we can just, eliminate putting questions in the chat and have a live conversation, but just as a matter of practice, let's put questions in the chat for now. And I just want to say out loud that we're all here to listen and learn together. It's okay to disagree, but we're all learning, and let's just be together here, lifting each other up to learn something new. So today we'd like to welcome Rebekah Miller from PTAC, the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and Janie Sacco from SBA, who's going to speak with us about the certification process. And we also have Bob Wheeler here who's working with Jefferson County on making contractors the right size so local businesses can actually bid on them. So we'll start, I think, with Rebekah. Welcome, Rebekah.
Yeah, so why don't we, Janie, if you don't mind going to that second slide, it's kind of just another introduction slide. PTAC is brand new to Kalaloch and Jefferson counties, really. Kitsap County has been trying to service our counties, but they don't have the bandwidth. So Representative Kilmer actually did a set aside for us this year so that we could come out and help Jefferson and Kalaloch counties. So as we were saying here, PTAC, which is new to all of us, that's what it stands for. But I got the announcement last Monday at the conference in DC that they are renaming and rebranding us. So our new name is actually the Apex Accelerators. So you will see that slowly rolling out. I don't think it's going to impact us a great deal because we weren't familiar with PTAC either. So this is just another new program for our counties. So I think on the next slide, I hope I've got kind of the point of Apex. We are here to help small businesses succeed in the government markets. And if you can go to the next slide, what I am also trying to do, and that's why one of the reasons I'm so glad that Bob Wheeler is on with us today, it's also for me to start meeting with our local government agencies to see how they are going about getting bids, and to see if there are better ways to attract local contractors and businesses so that we can keep the money local. And I think you can go to the next slide. So businesses can grow, particularly if they are getting these government contracts, which are stable. The government is the biggest buyer in the country, and this is a fantastic way for us to get established businesses on their radar. You can go to the next slide. So some of the things that we can do for PTAC at no cost. So all of these services are for free. I'm just here to help. That's all we do. I don't know if anybody on the call has had any opportunity to try to log into sam.gov. It's really not a whole lot of fun, and I can't believe that's my job now, but that's what I get to do. But I get to help you figure out SAM.gov. There have been a lot of businesses this last year having problems getting a UEI. And we are trying to get everybody through the system well enough. Cindy can attest to the fact that there are a lot of problems getting UEIs, but we got Team Jefferson taken care of, yay. So all of these sessions with me, they're confidential, they're one-on-one, and it says an experienced PTAC counselor. Well, I will be experienced, I promise. But one thing about me, and Janie can attest to that too, is that I don't know everything, but I will always find somebody who can get the answers that you need. So please just trust that process. One of the other things that we can really help small businesses with is once the RFP comes out from a government entity, sometimes just the application process can be daunting. And so the counselors, that can help you actually with the capability statements, review your applications, be sure that your NAICS codes, if you know what that is, those are just identifying what kind of services and products you have, but I can help you with that. And so it should make the whole process far easier for you. You can go to the next slide. The other terrific thing that we have are a lot of training events. I work very closely with the rest of the state, the PTACs, and we will actually be having a big event sometime this spring that will be held. We're not sure if it's going to be Clallam or Jefferson, but it will be a chance to meet builders, to meet contractors, to meet government agencies, and get everybody in one room to meet one another. I can also help with some marketing, and that's actually part of my background, so that will be great fun. But these are just to put businesses in a better position to win contracts. Okay, so why don't we go to the next slide? One of the things that I'm hoping also, Bob and I talked about this earlier this morning, is that the benefit, one of the benefits for the government agencies is that our clients will have hopefully better proposals submitted. I hear nightmares from some agencies that, the contractors, they having never been through this process. One person, I think they were, it was Linwood PD, said that a potential contractor submitted a bid package that was huge, really thick. Well, he didn't want to go through, a piece of paper that big, so that wasn't going to win the bid. So we will do what we can to make your proposal the best one. And if you can go forward. And this is really where Janie's expertise is going to lend a hand. And Janie, would you like to take over from the next few slides?
Sure, happy to do so. Well, thank you for having me here today. And we kind of put this a little bit together, but in haste. So I'm going to say, please, I'm going to ask for forgiveness first, because there's a little bit more information that we want to share in this, and I'm going to do that orally. There is not a slide for them. So let's talk about the 8A certification process first. Well, we have now 15% of the federal budget that is goal set to be allocated or contracted with disadvantaged business enterprises, woman-owned business enterprises, and veteran-owned business enterprises. And each one of those categories has an opportunity to contract directly with the federal government. So they are the prime contractor. And that's a really big deal because they need to be the business providing either the service or the product directly to the federal agency that is letting the contract. And some of those contracts can be sole sourced. So what that means is that there's really only one business bidding on the contract. All right. So that's the process a little bit in terms of what's happening with the contracting side. And what I want you to know is that you, as a business owner or your constituents, need to go through the self-certification process. So there's 3 different self-certification processes on the SBA website. One of them is for a disadvantaged business enterprise. The other is for a woman business enterprise. And there's a subgroup under that as a disadvantaged woman business enterprise. And then there is the veterans business enterprise. So each one of them has their own self-certification link on the SBA.gov website. And you can go to contracting, the contracting icon, and get that information. And so it's really relatively speaking, user-friendly. And again, I have to emphasize, it's self-certification. It's not having to go to the Office of Minority and Business Enterprises for the state of Washington, nor the Department of Veteran Affairs for the state of Washington. This is a totally separate process for the certification. All right. And the big thing is that at least 51% or more of the business must be owned and controlled by one or more of those categories of business owners. All right. So you can have more than one certification if applicable. All right. So again, what I really want to emphasize here is that what's listed is minority or woman, but there is the veterans category as well. They do need to be a U.S. citizen or permanent U.S. resident, and they must be considered economically disadvantaged. So as they're going through the application process for the self-certification, they will be answering questions that will either make them eligible, we hope, or ineligible if they're truly not eligible to participate in the program. All right. And before I shift on, I do want to let you know that we do have, for the Seattle District Office, which covers the majority of the state of Washington and northern Idaho, we have 4 business opportunity specialists, 2 in Seattle and 2 in Spokane, that work with the 8A program participants. And they do some technical assistance, but they help them with the process of the contracting, and they supplement what Apex Accelerators is actually doing for the business owner. So it's a great program. We have capacity to take on more woman-owned, disadvantaged, and veteran-owned businesses. So please help us promote this out in the community, because it's a great opportunity for generating revenue for those businesses that are eligible. And I'm going to turn it back over to Rebekah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janie. And I do think that Janie, actually, this is all, it's confusing with the certification processes. A lot of our local contractors and businesses, I think, are also going to be interested in doing state and local certifications. And if you're running across them, Janie actually mentioned the Office of Women and Minority Owned Business. I can never think. Business Office, another acronym.
OMWBE, the Office of Minority and Women Business Enterprises. I'm going to put their website, their website in the chat, along with the Department of Veteran Affairs.
Thank you so much, Janie. And so if we're looking at contractors who are just going after and want to be certified as women-owned, veteran, or minority-owned, I can help you with that too. We don't have the specific information on this slide deck, but for the state ones, there are great benefits to getting those certifications as well. They're not self-certifications. You do have to provide documentation. But even Janie and I were talking about this morning, that even through the self-certification process, you never want to say you are something if you are not, because they do have a kind of a check with they will audit, financial audits, and that the information has to match. So there's really no benefit to saying that you're a woman-owned business, that you're managing day-to-day operations if you're not. It's just going to bite you in the long run. And then Cindy just asked a question about what are the benefits. So I don't know if people on this call are familiar with, do you know what a set-aside is? So Janie mentioned that right now the government has a goal of 15% of contracts want to go to women, minority, veteran-owned businesses. That's a lot of money. And so if your business falls into one of those categories, and you are you're an expert in that field, you have to qualify to do you have to be qualified to do the work, of course, but your business is automatically, up there. So you've got a better chance at getting, if you are going head to head with another company that is not certified and have equal qualifications, you're getting the job because you've been certified. Did that answer your question about that, Cindy? And Janie, if you've got anything to add, please feel free.
I'm trying
Okay.
to unmute.
No,
this is really kind of a confusing process, but here's what I want you to think about. I put it in I was typing as Rebekah was talking. With the state agency certifications, those are typically more related to business owners being a subcontractor. So on a federal project, for example. So what I want you to think about is a Boeing. Boeing may be the primary contractor on planes for the military. And so what Boeing is responsible for doing is subcontracting with a certain percentage of businesses who are minority owned or woman owned or veteran owned. And so the state certification process helps businesses be able to demonstrate that to private sector companies where they may be a subcontractor. The federal program is open to really any service or product-based business that has the ability to meet a contracting need of the federal government. So it doesn't matter what type of business it is. It can be service-based, it can be a manufacturer, it can be a wholesaler, it can be a retailer. If they can provide a product or service in which there is a federal contract that's let, then they can participate in that program and that contracting process.
Cindy, did you want more specifics? Because the government, I mean, it buys and buys so many things and needs so many services that it's a rather unlimited tool. If you can think about, I mean, it could be, I think we were talking about it the other day, it could be catering during fire season. if you've got a way to transport firefighters into the forest. I mean, there's so many different things beyond what we think about with construction and that. So that's why we really, go ahead, Cindy.
I just think it would, you know, if I were a business calling in, I would want to know, gosh, can I, you know, is my business, would there be a contract that I could bid for? And so just maybe a few examples would be really helpful. I would have thought about transportation for firefighters. That's a great example.
Yeah, it's just, it's crazy what's out there. So I think, you know, one of the things with PTAC or, you know, Apex accelerators is that if you've got a business, now Apex is for established businesses. So if you're thinking about a business, you're probably working with, you know, with your local EDC, trying to help get that business up and running. But then you can come in and I can show you how to set up your company so that you have the correct codes, because when the government needs a service or a product, it searches for certain things with these NAICS codes. And so you've got to be sure that your business is registered correctly, that you've got a really good capability statement, so that if somebody is going through the long list, that your business stands out. And that's why PTAC Apex is here, to help position yourself so that you get on their radar. Sometimes, I mean, these things can take years. So, you know, it takes sometimes years to build the relationships with people. And we're here to walk you through that process.
You know, I'll give you a few examples of businesses that can work within these projects. If a federal agency is looking for a janitorial service, that's a service that they have to go in, they have to clean the agency facilities. That's an example. Another one may be a restaurant that's doing catering. When there's a federal contract going out for a food service issue, that's another example. The other thing that you can think about is if you have the VA that has hospitals, they need personal protective equipment. They can go out to businesses that do the manufacturing or wholesaling of those products, and you could have a contract with the federal government for something like that. So what you just need to think about is across the board, the United States federal government has a lot of different needs. And if you go through this process and get set up in sam.gov and go through, get the UEI as a business, it opens up the opportunity for you to be aware of contracts that are coming available and that you may bid on. If you go through the 8A certification process, then you actually have business opportunity specialists who are part of the Small Business Administration that are working directly and one-on-one with the businesses to make sure that they are getting opportunities to bid on, again, sole source types of contracts or just competitively. So it's a great program. Hope that gives you enough of a variety.
Yeah,
you know,
helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's interesting how many things are out there. Before I hand this over to Bob, I just wanted to go through to be sure we've got everything answered on the chat. And David, I don't know. I can look into that for you though. Or if it's just an FYI, I appreciate it. So no, it's terrific.
David, if you want a response, would you put your email in the chat for Rebekah?
That would be great. And Cindy just keeps coming. What is the process like getting bid ready at SAM.gov? Yeah, so it's a great question. It will take some time. There is some entrepreneurial spirit that I think that one needs for these kinds of processes, because you do really have to dig in and do your homework. I am here to kind of help guide you through it, but I'm not going to do your homework. I said maybe it was even to Cindy, I said, we're really trying to teach people to fish. We're not catching the fish ourselves. So it's, we've got some really great, let me see, it was an art. Okay, thanks, David. I think so much of it is going to depend, Cindy, on the person and, kind of what kind of time they're going to have to it, but it's not an overnight process. I would, small business owners, they're trying to run a business. This is hard work to do at night on the weekends. Realistically, I think if somebody got it done in a couple of weeks, I'd be surprised, because they just, you're not going to get through all of the documents right away. But we can give you some checklists. What documents do I need to have ready? These are the kinds of things that you want to have in your capability statement.
The other thing I want to point out, just as a little bit more information regarding the process. The other complementary program that the SBA has to contracting specifically is the Surety Bond Guarantee Program and the SBA Guaranteed Loan Programs. And here's the thing, if you have a contractor who's actually going in and constructing a building or doing excavation work, something like that, on a contract that's been let by the federal government, and they're participating in that, our business opportunity specialists already kind of lean them into, if they need bonding, to work with our Surety Bond Guarantee Program staff. But believe me, any contractor that needs bonding, whether they're part of this 8A program or not, has the opportunity to work with our Surety Bond Guarantee staff. And what that program does is it helps contractors qualify for significantly more bonding coverage than they would otherwise qualify for through a normal bond agent process. And then complementary again to that is, if a small business owner needs funding to help them put together and perform on their project with the federal government, then we point them to our financial institutions, our community advantage lenders, our micro lenders, if that's applicable, to help them access loan proceeds through the micro loan program, the community advantage lender program, and our SBA loan guarantee program. So we're kind of a full house in terms of working with business owners and really making an impact to get them project ready, get them contracted with the federal government, and hopefully get them some money to work on these projects. And then we have wonderful, again, Apex accelerators to help them on the technical assistance side too. So it's a great resource, and we want to get more contractors involved in the program. So get the word out and get them over to us.
Absolutely. Well, and it just all dovetails so nicely to have Bob Wheeler here from Jefferson County Public Works. We got the opportunity to talk this morning about, I'm just so impressed with the way they're going about doing this. So this is Bob Wheeler, and I am going to turn it over to him and let you hear about what Jefferson County is doing. And I want more counties to do it like this. So
well, hi, everybody.
Tell the
Thanks, Rebecca. Can I get shared screen? I think I can put just one thing up here. Can everybody see that? It's a map.
Yes.
Pretty simple. I'm an engineer, so this makes it nice. I have a little map in front of me. We are not the federal government. We are not the state government. We're a local government, obviously, Jefferson County. And I'm going to give you a little background on this project that we're doing, but this is a $34 million project that we are talking about right now. That's our cost estimate. Who knows when we bid this where prices will be, but we're looking at $34 million of project. And if we are to bid $34 million of project, it is very unlikely that any of our local contractors would be able to bid on this job. They might be able to get some work from the prime company that would be bidding on this, which likely is out of Seattle or Portland or gosh knows where. For that big of a money, that's what this is going to attract. But smaller contractors locally are not going to be able to work on this. I mentioned that we're not federal or state because we are going to have requirements, and we are getting funding from federal sources, from state sources, likely 2 different agencies in the state, from local Jefferson County funding, and there will be different requirements for each one of those funding sources. So that will get complex. It's going to get complex for us in terms of how we bid these projects, the project out. But our real approach here is going to be trying to bid this out in smaller segments, which we think will encourage folks to be able to bid on these smaller projects that have folks that are more local. They're going to be able to bid on this. So what is the project? Well, it's the Port Hadlock Urban Growth Area Sewer System. Just a little background on this. This map shows in the green area is what we're calling the phase 1 area. This is a small portion of the whole urban growth area. And it's a sewer system for this area. So can you see my cursor just kind of showing? Do people see that? This is the whole UGA is much bigger than this area. It includes all the way up to Chimacum Creek for those that know it. You can see Highway 19 here, sometimes known as Rhodey Drive for those that aren't familiar. This highway here is Highway 116, which basically goes all the way through here, eventually over towards Fort Flagler. Ajax Cafe is a common area that some people might know about. That's right in this location here down near the waterfront. This is a huge urban growth area that's been set up through the Growth Management Act. It was set up to take some of the growth that was given to Jefferson County. Port Townsend obviously takes the brunt of all that growth because it's already an existing urban growth area and a city. Whereas this is unincorporated area out here and county land. It's not an actual city. But in around 2000, the governments, all the local governments agreed that Port Hadlock area should have its own urban growth area and an area that could accept growth to it as part of the allotment that the Jefferson County gets. And of course, the hope here is that development will occur in these incorporated areas or in these urban growth boundary areas and not just spread out throughout the entire county for lots of reasons, which I won't get into. The problem here was that this whole area that was designated as an urban growth area did not have one key urban service that it needed. It had roads, it had basically water systems or water system to serve it. Some amount of stormwater that could be built as developments occurred. It did not have a sewer system. It had individual septic tanks for this entire area. And while this area looks, smells, and tastes like it's an urban area from just the existing development that's there, everybody is on a septic tank leach field system. Some have some more advanced treatment on their properties because of their size or amount of liquids that they are have. But it's a septic system. And you need to have urban levels of service to be able to then get the zoning change to urban densities. And the thing that was missing here is a sewer system. So probably some people would say from way back in the 70s and 80s, this has been worked on trying to get a sewer system here. The county in 2006 really had a concerted effort trying to get a sewer system in this particular area. and sort of focusing on phasing it. So this green area is basically the first phase, and then Rhodey Drive, and then some of the residential areas up here in the north up towards Chimacum Creek would be phased over a 20-year time frame. Some of the Growth Management Act laws, though, changed because of lack of funding. This project did not go forward in that 2006 to 2011 time period. The good news is that the county did purchase property, which I'm encircling here, including quite a wetland in here, but also a gravel pit, another portion of a gravel pit and property to be able to ultimately put a wastewater treatment plant in. So that was the real good news, is that they went ahead and did that bit of work. Then in 2018, some citizens came to the county and said, hey, let's get going on this project. Isn't there something we can do? And so the county sort of took this up again and really worked on it. The advantage we have now is we've gotten substantial funding. I have to give some credit to Steve Theringer from one of our House representatives for the state House of Representatives. I got about 1.4 million, a little plus of that, for design of a sewer system in here. He's since got another 20 million for construction. We've also gotten 2.5 million from Senator Murray for construction, and we've just applied for 6.7 million from the Department of Ecology for construction, as well as $3 million from Representative Kilmer, which has passed the House and needs to pass the Senate, the U.S. House and U.S. Senate. That's going to give us around $35 million worth of money to build a $34 million potentially plus system within these green boundaries. With that sewer system, then the urban levels of density and zoning will take place and become enacted. And then this area can start to develop truly as an urban growth area. And I want to give one example here. This area over here is called the old airport property. You can see the old runway there. It's just in the grass. This is about 17 acres. Right now, you could build 3 homes on 17 acres because it's zoned rural instead of urban, because they don't have sewer. With sewer, you could put up to 200 units of housing. Habitat for Humanity just purchased this for about 1.24 million, I think it was, these 17 acres. They plan with sewer to build on the order of 120 units in here, including a lot of units that will be for their sort of traditional less than 80% of the median household income types of housing, but also some in the 80 to 120 percent of the median income. And so 120 units versus 3 units, that's a big game changer for housing in Jefferson County, for certainly out in Port Hadlock, and for not only low income, but medium income situations, which is what is desired out here, is to have that sort of urban levels of density, but you have to have the sewer there first. So a $34 million project. The project is putting in a sewage treatment plant in this gravel pit that's right here that the county owns. There'll be a line that takes it over here to a infiltration bed. The treatment's going to be what's called Class A, which is a very high level of treatment and able to be reused. In our case, it will be recharged to groundwater and ultimately have some amount of recharge to Chimacum Creek, which is right in this particular area here. There'll be an inlet line, and then these sort of pinkish lines, purplish lines are the pressure sewers themselves. And we're going with pressure sewers because there's so many conflicts out in this area with other utilities already, that pressure sewers, you don't have to maintain a grade from one maintenance hole to the next so that it flows by gravity. What will happen is on each property, there will be grinder pumps that will grind up the solids from each property. And then they are the individual pump stations that pump the sewage all the way on over here to the sewage treatment plant. So there's a lot of components to this. There's, first off, we're going to do some grading, put this inlet line in. We hope to start on that in January in terms of bidding that, and then build the reuse pond. We're looking at that bidding at January, February timeframe, starting work certainly in March of next year. So that's coming up very soon. Then we bid the treatment plant itself. That'll probably be bid in the March, April timeframe. And then actually building that. As part of that, we have what's called an MBR, a membrane bioreactor, which will be manufactured off-site, hauled in on trucks, and then dropped in place amongst the other components of the treatment plant. So that'll be in that time frame. And then in terms of the pressure sewer system, we're going to build that through using several different contracts, probably phased about 3 months apart, probably starting in June or July next year, where we will bid certain components of it. Probably the Cedar Avenue part and some of this line in here, maybe up into this area. Then assuming we get the state money that we've applied for, we probably build a lot of the rest of this area with the sewer system. And then the last portion would be likely using the federal monies to build and down in this area here, the waterfront, the School of Wooden Boat Building, Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building area. And so we'd have 2 or 3 contracts for building that. And then we will likely purchase the grinder pumps ourselves, store them here at the treatment plant site, and then have a separate contractor that will actually install the grinder pumps on each individual property. And then a line out to these pressure sewers, and then abandoning the septic tank and basically getting the system ready to go. And we hope to be operational by sometime in 2024 or sometime in the first half of 2025 to be operational. So what are the opportunities for contractors in this sort of setting? First, we think there's a lot of advantages to splitting out these bids. And again, instead of one big $34 million project, we would bid these out in smaller pieces. So the grading will be one type of project in this area here, building this. That should be small enough that some of the local contractors will be able to bid on that project, have the bonding capacity for doing that work. The treatment plant might be a little more expensive and a little more technical. There may or may not be that capability here locally or in the immediate region. But that doesn't mean that that contractor that does get this couldn't be local, or that some of that work might be with subcontractors, for instance, supplying concrete or asphalt and that type of thing. The pressure sewer system, we think that has a great potential by splitting that out into smaller pieces for local contractors to bid on that. And so we're hopeful on that as we bid this out in segments, local contractors will be able to bid on that. And then the installation of the grinder pumps and working on each property, we also think would be very available for some of our local contractors to be able to work on that. So again, we're looking at pieces of this, doing several different bidding sort of processes, and hopefully encouraging local contractors. We think actually it's going to be an advantage for lots of reasons, but one big one is we keep the money here locally. We have local contractors that could potentially be doing a lot of this work, which is really exciting to us. It kind of keeps the money that we're getting from this grant funding here locally. Two, we think that the prices will be better. It's a lot different to sort of mobilize when you already have a facility right here in town, so to speak, versus that you're out of Portland and you're having to mobilize from down there. So mobilization costs will likely be much less, and local contractors' knowledge of this area is much greater. They won't have to have some of the sort of, we just don't know, so they will add the price, we'll add onto our price, et cetera. So we think there's great advantages of that. We think for us, we're small staff, I'm part-time, that we will be able to manage these different contractors in an easier sort of fashion. I might mention that we're working a lot with Jefferson County PUD, which the intent is for them to actually operate and maintain this system once it gets in. They already do the billing for water and electrics for all these customers here. So we've been working with them a lot. We have an interlocal agreement. So that'll be, I think, a great opportunity for us too through the Jefferson County PUD, and they may have to hire operators too. So there may be some other opportunities here for basically employment possibilities. The other thing I'd mention is that after this gets built and we get up and operational, there's a huge potential here in terms of even the vacant land. I mean, 120 homes, that's going to require a lot of construction and activities and local contractors building homes and being involved in this. So I think there's a great opportunity there for local contractors to be actively involved. And for anybody that's wanting to connect on into the sewer, that is not going to connect initially, even though I think a lot of these will be connecting. If you're a licensed bonded contractor, you will have capabilities of coming in when somebody wants to connect in, either building something new, or if they didn't connect originally, or if it just expands out of this area, which it can, that they will be able to be doing work on doing that type of work. I mentioned we have a lot of different funding sources. We're not totally in the know yet about what the requirements will be. State does not really consider MBE, DBE, or WBE as factors, but certainly federal government will. Our grants are going to be managed through EPA nationally. And there will likely be some WBE, MBE, and WBE requirements. I'm using that acronym, hopefully from what Janie said, you know what those are. So we think there'll be some opportunities there through some of our federal grants. So I guess I'd answer any questions that I may not have covered. Our hope is that we're going to see a lot of local activity, local contractors interested in working on this project. And we think by the way we're doing this, it's going to provide a lot better opportunity for locals to be able to bid on this and keep the funds here and locally and create good employment.
Well, Bob, some of the companies that could bid on these, would that include like excavating companies, plumbing contractors, maybe a tilt-up construction outfit? What else? Well,
it probably does. It still is limited. Somebody who's just out building houses is probably not going to be able to bid on, putting in the sewer system for this entire area here. But there are enough local contractors, and I'm not as familiar in Clallam County, but I certainly here in town, there are a number of contractors that would be able to do this type of work. So it's not just open for everybody, most likely, or I say open, it's open to anybody, but likely to meet the criteria to be bidding on this and to have the experiences. It's a smaller list of folks and contractors that can do that work, but there are definitely local folks that can do that.
And where will the RFPs be posted?
We always do the Business Journal or Daily Journal of Commerce, and I think our newspaper of record is the Leader right now, so it'd be in that, potentially in the Peninsula Daily News, but certainly the Leader and Daily Journal of Commerce. So it'd be in those most likely.
Okay. The Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprises also has a place to post.
Okay, great. Any questions? I think from what I see of our audience, there's probably not a lot of people here that are raising their hands wanting to bid on these projects directly, but this is being taped, so maybe some of them will look at that. But hopefully this gave you a little bit of an insight just into this project, and it's quite an involved project, $34 million and permits and tribal issues and a sewer ordinance and what we're going to charge. We're looking at trying for the initial connectors to not have to have them pay anything unless it's extraordinarily complex and use our grant funding to actually pay for that. So while we might require some people to hook up, depending on their water flow, there will be incentives for them to hook up in terms of the capital costs for sure. Other questions? That must mean that everybody understood everything or nobody understood anything. So I don't know.
Well, this is a great project, and I really appreciate your efforts to break down that big bid into a series of smaller bids to open up local opportunities. That's brilliant. And thank you for the extra time that took to package.
Sure.
Rebekah, Janie. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I think it's great too. I mean, I was really excited. I am going to spread the news to Clallam County of what you're doing. So hopefully, Sydney, we can maybe bring some people together and you know, kind of learn from what Bob and his team are doing and how other agencies could be doing that same kind of thing.
Yeah, that would be great. The more opportunities we can create, the better. And, you know,
Sure.
projects like this are solving a bunch of problems
Yep.
in terms of keeping our environment safe and healthy and being able to
Yep.
house more people.
I think my only comments in closing are just make sure that you spread the word about the contracting opportunities with the federal government as a prime contractor. And we have capacity, and there are a lot of contracts that are out there that are being issued right now. And this is why contracting is top of mind with all federal employees, trying to get the message out to the small business community to get their revenue up and get them some money.
So if people just want to browse through contracts that are posted just to see what's out there, to see if, you know, their goods or services might fit the bill, is there a place they can go just to look?
It's
Rebekah?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of like, so it is overwhelming, because there are so many different places. Even with, you know, when somebody, I think Cindy, you just asked Bob, where will they be posting that RFP? That's one of the problems because there's, you know, they're spread out. One of the services that PTAC has, although there is a charge for that, it's an annual fee of, I think it's $169 or something, is a system called Bid Match. And so it allows us, as you know, you put in all of your codes, the kind of company that you are. And again, that's something that I can help you with. And then Bid Match will search all of these different agencies and match you up with that NAICS code. So that is terrific. Long term, because Rebekah does not have the bandwidth for it anytime soon, Colleen would really like to. Colleen is the executive director here in Clallam County, Cindy's counterpart. She'd really like to see us, the two counties, do our own roster, which might be interesting. You know, again, that sounds daunting to me too, trying to manage a roster. But if we could get local agencies to post, you know, among ourselves, kind of like, let's circulate this information around. So I think so much of it just has to do, as Janie was saying, it's like, let's get the word out about these opportunities and about the resources available to our businesses.
Okay, so what's the best way to reach you and Janie?
So I put I can put it in the chat. I put it on that slide, but that's not as helpful. So I'm just going to put it in the chat right now.
Okay, for the viewers that might not be able to see the chat, can you say it out loud once?
Oh, of course, I'm sorry. And you can also go to clallam.org. And then I've got a tab under PTAC. Of course, it will be Apex one of these days. And all of my contact information is there.
Okay.
And mine is janie.sacco@sba.gov. So it's JAN as in Nancy, IE.S as in Sam, A as in Apple, C as in cat, C as in cat, O as in Oscar @sba.gov. And the other thing I did want to mention is at the state level, the Procurement Inclusion and Equity Program Contracts and Procurement Division for the state of Washington, Department of Enterprise Services. I would have people check out their website at www.D for department, E for enterprise, S for services.wa.gov. And they should have contracting opportunities there at the state level.
Great. That'll give people a place to start to see what's being offered.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for being here. It's my pleasure to host this monthly get together so we can all learn something new together. Please come back on the next third Thursday for Resource Roundtable. It's hosted or posted on our website, EDC Team Jefferson. All right. Thank you all. I really appreciate you.